My next patron question is from Joey, who wants to know if there are parts of animation history that deserve more respect. Whenever I see someone who claims to be a so-called animation fan, I see them saying they don't like an important piece of animation history, while also not giving them any credit and respect for their importance and all that they have done for animation as a whole. Such victims include Mickey Mouse and old Disney cartoons in general, UPA, the Flintstones, and Ren and Stimpy. Even animated films such as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Toy Story tend to get comments like, "What did Snow White do better than Pinocchio and Beauty and the Beast?" and "The release of Toy Story is both a good and bad thing in the world of animation." Do you think that these so-called animation fans should give more credit and respect to important pieces of animation history, even if they don't like them? I think it's important when discussing film history to look at it in context when analyzing its importance, and I do think there are several things in animation history that have been dismissed that don't deserve to be. Joey mentioned some examples. One that also comes to mind is when people talk about Shrek. It certainly remains a beloved and cherished movie, but it also tends to be looked down upon in certain circles for what many perceive as its negative influence on Western animation. It's true that computer-animated comedies with pop culture references dominated not long after Shrek was released. But then, why should the film itself, which is smart and heartfelt, be dismissed? Jaws spawned a bunch of killer fish movies, and the success of Animal House resulted in a lot of lowbrow comedies about 20-somethings during the 80s and continuing into the 90s. Yet, what they pulled off is not looked down upon. For some reason, Shrek is seen as influencing animation in the worst ways. There's not a single successful film in Hollywood that did not lead to other films trying to recapture that same popularity with varying results. You don't have to like Shrek, but I think it was important in paving the way for other successful animated features from the likes of Blue Sky and Sony Animation, and deserves to occupy an important place in the medium's history. Hanna-Barbera also tends to be looked down upon as the lowest of the low in television animation. Some animation fans see the company as just one that produced quick, cheap animated television shows. Even Walt Disney did not try to make animated television series because of his own perception of them as cheap, and Chuck Jones referred to them as illustrated radio. Yes, there was some disposable fodder that came out of HB, but they also proved original animation was possible in the television medium. And when making shows like Yogi Bear, The Flintstones, and Top Cat, they sought scripts with funny characters and solid writing to make up for the limitations they might encounter with their budgets. Without the Flintstones, there would probably be no Simpsons, no Dexter's Laboratory, or other highly regarded animated series. I confess that even I've occasionally fallen into the trap of dismissing a certain part of animation history. I used to hold the belief that the 1970s was the worst decade in the history of animation. I based this on what I perceived was the state of television and feature animation at the time. However, this ignores the experimental and unique animation being made in the 70s, because you have to look at the period as a whole rather than a small section. The National Film Board of Canada was producing a lot of inventive and creative shorts at the time. Look at many of the films that competed for the Best Animated Short Oscar, including from revered artists like Will Vinton, Richard Williams, and John and Faith Hubley. However you feel about his filmography as a whole, Ralph Bakshi did a lot to try and move animation to new places, with movies like Fritz the Cat and Wizards. I've noticed most discussion of animation history tends to focus on how Disney, Pixar, Warner Brothers, and maybe the occasional Japanese studio was doing at a given time. However, animation history encompasses more than just Beauty and the Beast, Toy Story, Duck Amuck, and Spirited Away. It's a wide world full variety of inspiration being found all over the place, whether from an independent filmmaker or from one of the big studios. And just because you don't like something does not mean it did not shape the art form in a positive way and had something important to offer. Thank you for your question, Joey.